Welcome to John S. Sports Channel review of 2024-2025 for the Championship. We're going for the last game, of course, and what a day this was going to be. This was going to be a lot of stress for the people at the teams at the bottom, a lot of teams at the bottom as well, and just one or two at the top that could really make a difference. And also hoping for the right results, hoping for a few different results to either get them into the playoffs or to keep them in the playoffs. So we start here at Bristol City, and Bristol City to Preston. Preston coming out and getting 2-0 up. Now, you've got to look at the stats here, guys, because it was 70% possession to Bristol City, 18 shots, 2 on target, 2 in the net. For Preston, it was 31% possession, 18 shots also, 5 on target, 2 in the net. But Bristol City were passing it very, very tightly, very, very narrowly. 557 passes for them for their 70% possession, 241 passes for Preston. So actually they did really well for just 31% possession. Both teams doing some really good, tight, clinical passing. Bristol Rovers came out on top, Preston came back, and at some point during that period of, I think it was between the two goals, Bristol City went into 7th position, and the crowd just turned completely different, trying to get even more behind their team to try and keep them in this game. At 2-0 down, it looked like this could be a case of Preston just sitting back, because Preston, of course, it had got onto the pitch. I think that they were well safe, because the Luton Town result was going to be easily a whitewash by West Brom. And I think the management would have tried not to let the players know, but I think the fans had got that news onto the pitch. That's a bit disappointing, because to me, you want your players to try your best all the way to the end, and if you tell them that they're actually safe and it doesn't matter about the result, it's a little bit down. I think that did happen a little bit. Preston did play well all the way up to the point where Bristol City had to win or get a point at least, just to get back into the the top 6. And Preston sort of found out about similar time that they were safe, and it sort of, to me, meant that Preston sort of stuck back a little bit, didn't mind having less possession, and but because they were 2-0 up. Bristol City then came back. It gave them a little bit of impetus to keep on attacking, and that's where a lot of their shots came from, and possession came from, in that last bit where they were just keeping on pounding the Preston goal line. Great game, thoroughly enjoyed it, great watch-along game, and it was one of those end-of-season ones where you look at it and you think, okay, they've just gone, right, the crowds are telling both sides, the crowds were absolutely amazing. You really did a good job in keeping the team and the management up to date with what the other scores were. Absolutely. And Bristol City, their finish in 6th place on 68 points. At the end of the day, actually, they would have been okay to have lost this one. 67 points would have been above Blackburn, who are in 7th on 66. So actually, it didn't matter at the end of the day. I think it was only, they were only out of it for a few minutes, weren't they? And the team that went above them actually ended up letting in a goal almost straight after. So at the bottom there, you've got 20th position Preston North End with 50 points. And they were always going to be safe. If they'd have lost this one, 49 points, minus 11 goal difference. You've got Hull City would have been above them on minus 10 goal difference, also with 49. Luton Town, though, would have been still in 22nd position on minus 24. Never going to happen, was it, when they start a game trounced at West Brom. Let's have a look at the next game, which is another one of those games where the fans made an absolutely brilliant impact. It was noted on the television at the time how amazing the Burnley fans had picked up on a certain Plymouth goal. So let's go and have a look at Burnley versus Millwall. So Burnley versus Millwall. Burnley 3, Millwall 1. Very similar statistics actually to the draw we just mentioned. 71% to Burnley, 19 shots, 9 on target, 3 in the net. And Millwall 29% possession, 12 shots, 4 on target, 1 in the net. So very, very similar statistics there. Burnley really, for me, didn't really look like losing this one, even though Ivanovic put them behind. Millwall going ahead there, surprisingly 1-0 up and on 11 minutes. But Brownhill scored on 13 minutes for Burnley to equalise. Just want to go in there. Remember, 13 minutes as we go to the Leeds game, because Burnley equalised on 13 minutes, and then the news went round the ground straight away about 5 minutes later on 18 minutes to say that Plymouth Argyle had just gone in the lead against Leeds. And now Leeds United were second, and their team, Burnley, were now top of the championship. And the crowd just went mad. We're champions indeed. And this Burnley side really picked up on that and started to press quite. That's really, I think, where things just started to get a little bit exciting on the pitch. It was like, yeah, we can actually do this. Yeah, there's obviously something good happened for them at the Plymouth versus Leeds game. Hell, we're going to enjoy this and make sure that we do our end of the bargain for the fans. Great game. 90 plus 3 minutes was a third goal for Burnley from Brownhill, giving his brace there. I think Millwall did a good job here. They certainly wanted to attack them from the off, just to make sure that they weren't just another team that could do something if the results went their way. However, the other results were always against them, I fear, and they never really had a good chance. As soon as Burnley equalised, I think the other results were just always against them, and they couldn't quite get themselves in that top six with enough difference points-wise to think we could actually keep here as long as the goals don't go in at certain other games. But, Bristol City, like I said, they hung on to that sixth slot. They did nip out of it at one point, but then they managed to get back into it thanks to the fans roaring them on, and to other teams going ahead and then being pegged back down again. So, good game at Burnley. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Brilliant atmosphere. Once again, the fans did their bit, didn't they, with this one? So finally, Burnley in second place, 100 points, 53 goal difference against Leeds in first on 65 goal difference. Same points. Millwall finished 8th on 66, just 2 points away from that playoff zone. 6th place, Bristol City. So brilliant game there. Really did finish for me as soon as Burnley started to stamp their authority, though. But Millwall fans, you did do it was a really good game from you. Really good game plan. Certainly followed, otherwise you wouldn't be 1-0 up early on. I look forward to seeing what you're going to prove capable of doing next season. Perhaps it will be a top 6. I wouldn't put it past you. Coventry 2, Borough 0 next, and Borough came out of this one really strong. They were really on the front foot. And the commentators were, because this is the original game I was watching, were just saying that when Coventry scored on 44, it was totally against the run of play. And I probably agree with them. Borough were looking strong at that point. And then in the second half, I think it was a little bit 50-50 for me, but the commentators again saying Coventry were second place to Borough for most of that second half. Not sure I quite agree with that. I think Coventry did do really well holding Borough at bay. And Borough were attacking quite a lot. 46% possession to Coventry, 17 shots, 4 on target, 2 in the net. Borough will be deeply upset by this one. They're 54% possession. Again, more of the possession. Again, more shots, 21. Again, more shots on target, 6-0 in the net. There was some good defending there and some good goalkeeping from the Coventry goalkeeper. Kept this team in the game, I think. And the Coventry side, I think, knew when they were 1-0 up that they got this. They could have this one wrapped up if they could just stop this Borough side from making so many shots. In the end, they didn't make them. They didn't slow the shots down. In fact, Borough had a few more in the second half. But that 87th minute goal for me just was the kick in the teeth, wasn't it? It was that one goal where Coventry realised that they were going into the playoffs for certain. The other results were already by then starting to show that they were more than likely going to be in that top six anyway. And the crowd just started to celebrate being in the playoffs. Brilliant atmosphere at Coventry. Great game. Feel a little bit sad for Borough. They've done this trick all the way through this. Well, a lot of the times through the season. I won't say all the way. A lot of the time they've played they've got most of the possession. They've had most shots. They've had most shots on target, but lost the game or drawn it, and they shouldn't have. In the end, Coventry finished in 5th on 69 points. So nicely inside there, 3 points ahead of 7th place Blackburn in the end. How did that come about? Borough in 10th, they will be deeply upset by that. They weren't. I didn't ever see them as a 10th place side. 64 points, 3 points above Swansea in 11th, who of course came back with a lightning surge in the last month or so, didn't they? Certainly the changes they made there, absolutely brilliant, did a lot of good there at Swansea. So that was it. Coventry 2, Middlesbrough 0. So we go to Derby Stoke. Now this is an interesting one because a lot of people predicted a draw for this, and I think I did as well. The reason is Derby and Stoke could have gone down. However, they would really have had to. The other scores would have had to really go against them. And at the end of the day, they just need a draw. Either team get a draw. In fact, if Derby Stoke was a draw, both teams would be happy. They would be safe, and they would be able to plan for next season in the Championship. At the end of the day, it was Derby 0, Stoke 0. We'll go straight to where they finished. 18th place Stoke on 51 points. 19th place Derby on 50 points. Relegated Luton Town in 22nd on 49. So that draw, they would have realised, was just going to keep both of them up there. They would have been happy. So was this a bit of a dull draw? Well, actually, it wasn't. There was actually some decent play in here. There was some good passing, but there's also some really awful passing as well. It didn't look like a dull draw. There was a lot of passing in here. 333 passes to Derby with their 52% possession. 314 for Stoke with their 48. That's actually not a bad. That's actually not a bad number of passes. This team was actually making some good connections, good passes. Like I say, some poor ones as well. But that depicts where they are in the league, doesn't it? 52% possession to Derby County, 12 shots. So they weren't afraid to have a few long range shots. 4 on target, 2 blocked. It would have been easier to say that Derby should have perhaps just snuck this one, and that they should have really got that 1-0 win. But I don't think they really cared, and I don't think that their heart was really in it. A couple of those strikes were a little bit haphazard and let's just have a go. Why not? You're both safe, and at the end of the day, that's what this game of football is about. This day was about making sure your side was safe, and you both did it. Fair play on you. Stoke City, 48% possession, 4 shots, 1 on target. Yeah, they were slightly more in the defence, but I tell you what, they really didn't seem to care. They were just knocking the ball around quite happily, and just happy to get a 0-0 draw. They would have been probably the happier team here, because they really should have come away with a defeat. But had they come away with a defeat, they would have been on 48. So they would have been they would have been on 48 when they say no. They would have been on 50 points. So they would have been still safe anyway. So it really didn't matter, did it? It's one of those. It became one of those non-games, especially when everybody realised, I think, that Luton Town were getting beaten. So we'll go on to the next game then. So we go Norwich-Cardiff, and this is a non-game, isn't it? This is your typical non-game. We expected a dull game. Did we get a good dull game? Absolutely bloody not. Norwich City finished in 13th position on 57 points. Yeah, absolutely mid-table, way away from the relegation race, and to me, well away from the promotion places as well. Cardiff City 24th, 44 points. They were already relegated. Surely they weren't going to try and attack this Norwich City side. Although Norwich City have been playing pretty poorly as well for me. Cardiff City also they've been getting a little bit better, but they were still playing pretty badly. Certain players have been playing pretty well, and those players did actually turn up for Cardiff City and proved to be quite a handful for Norwich, didn't they? Because Norwich went ahead with, on 13 minutes through, that guy Nunez, and then they went 2-0 up with... no, they went... it's 1-1 then, wasn't it, for Cardiff? With Cardiff came with Chambers, but straight back with Norwich with Nunez again on 17. So it was quite a ding-dong battle, this one, ending Norwich 4, Cardiff 2. And absolutely an 84th minute penalty for Cardiff. You're thinking, is this the end? Please? 4-2. Both sides will be absolutely amazed that they managed to pull this game off, because it was a great game. Both sides played really well for me. Totally enjoyed it. Were Norwich really always that far ahead in the game? Absolutely not. You can see by the statistics, and they don't seem to lie, I don't think. 64% possession to Norwich City, 22 shots, 8 on target, 4 in the net. Bloody good game there. But Cardiff City in 24th, listen to this, 36% possession, 19 shots, 6 on target, 2 in the net. You know, on any day, either of those results would have come out with a really good win for both sides. But they were playing each other, and one side did win. It was Norwich 4, Cardiff 2, and like I say, you know, we didn't expect this one. Well done, Norwich. We know you. This is a really good team, and they can play really well. They can play like they played here, and I look forward to seeing what they do next season. Hopefully that side shows what it can do next season, and we don't seem to have that sort of just... I think that never say never in a game disappeared from Norwich, and it's always been a case if they go behind, they've always had that ability to come back and win it in the 97th minute, like they did when Rotherham was in the Championship. 97th minute goal for Norwich City, they've won it. You know, you think, oh, shit, again. I want to see that next year, and I want to see them fighting for it when they go down, because at the minute this year they just seem to have lost it when they go behind. Cardiff City, that shows you what you can do, guys. I hate to say this, but being a Rotherham fan, I'm going to hate playing Cardiff next season, not because we've had our differences in the past years, especially 2 years ago, but because that side can actually play some damn good football, can't it, when it wants to. It's going to be a good year, I think, for Cardiff next year, and I wish you luck, even if it is, just not against the Rotherham team, please. So we go on to the next game. So we go Plymouth versus Leeds. I said 3-1 to Leeds. and we flicked to this game to do the watch along for a little while when it was 2-1, and I'm saying I could get my prediction. It could be 3-1. It could be 3-1, and I was absolutely eager to get my prediction right. And unfortunately, it did end Leeds, where it ended Plymouth 1, Leeds 2. So, Plymouth, 18 minutes, own goal by Byram, and Plymouth 1-0 up. The roar at Burnley was just phenomenal. I think I was listening to the Burnley game at that point, and the Burnley fans just went haywire. After a couple 5 minutes, was it, after they'd equalised? Burnley had equalised, and Plymouth put the hope into the Burnley fans' heads. But of course, in the second half, Leeds United they decided to turn that possession into actually physical goals. At that point, they just couldn't get past that back line. And Plymouth at home really do have a damn good defensive record. It's going to be even harder to beat that defence if they keep it together in League One, because it really is. It does take some skill to get past that Plymouth Argyle back line, and they are, for me, one of the better home teams in the Championship. Obviously, there's certain ones at the top that are also excellent, but this Plymouth side has the ability in the Championship anyway to be able to win 3-1, 3-0 at home, even if it does mean not playing quite so good away from home. Here they did start well, 1-0 up, and ended up 2-1. Leeds United, 77% possession, 25 shots, only 4 on target. That Plymouth defence did an absolutely staunch job. 13 of them off target, but I think this system calls a block, a sort of tap away by the defender as a off target. 13, 17, so that's 8 blocked. So 8 blocked shots, 4 on target, 13 off target. This side was hammering that back line, but Plymouth were just really strong in the back, and I really do think it's going to be an interesting year next year in League One, certainly for that defence. Plymouth Argyle, they're 23% possession, 6 shots, 1 on target, 1 in the net. However, that was own goal, wasn't it? So we can't count that. So the 1 shot they did have on target was actually Plymouth. 1 shot that they did have on target was actually saved. So it's going to be interesting next year. I think that front end just needs to be a little bit more active. I think the back end does really well. Will the front end do the same? Let's just look at the table, because obviously Leeds came back in that one to win it on 53 and 90 plus 1 minutes. 90 plus 1 minutes to actually win it. And they really did break the hearts of the Burnley fans, didn't they? 90 plus 1 minutes, and they suddenly take that lead. And I remember covering it and saying, and just shouting out, Leeds have just won the Championship. And it was Plymouth 1, Leeds 2. Leeds in first place on 100 points, 65 goal difference ahead of Burnley, 100 points, 53 goal difference. Plymouth, sadly, 23rd, going down to League One, 46 points, 3 points behind 21st place Hull and 22nd place Luton. So at the end of the day, I think even if they'd have won this one, they still would have been in 23rd position because of their minus 37 goal difference. So good luck to both teams. I think that Leeds will have to think about this manager question a little bit more seriously than what some of the fans are thinking about it. I agree with TalkSport, and they said it's going to be a difficult decision because there's such a big gap between the Championship and the Premier League, and a lot of those sides that go up, or probably all 3 of those sides that go up, whoever they may be, will have managers who either have been in the Premier League and come down, or are extremely good at the Championship, but aren't that good in are unknown in the Premier League. and you really do need, I think, a good Premier League manager, and you need a method of attacking the Premier League, such as the one that Nottingham Forest took, which was completely different from the usual go up, get relegated straight away like the 3 did last year, going down this year. So let's see what the decision is as we move on to the next game. So it's a party atmosphere in Portsmouth, and believe it or not, before the game, the Portsmouth fans and the Hull fans were absolutely in party mood, and they were together in the pubs, and they were having a good time. Yeah, Mr. Portsmouth there being taken, had a few pictures taken with the Hull City fans, and yeah, they were all having a great time. Hull City, of course, through somebody we know, Matt Crooks, getting the Hull City goal, and they go 1-0 up, and everybody's thinking, because Portsmouth are down the road from me, they're all thinking, will Portsmouth actually try and win this one, try and come back into it? They can do, and they were playing some pretty good football. Portsmouth, 64% possession, 11 shots, 2 on target, 1 in the net. Hull City, 36% possession here, 11 shots also, 4 on target though, more on target than what Portsmouth had, and also 1 in the net. I think both of these teams were sort of, a bit haphazard with it. I think that by the time Hull City scored, they probably realised by then that the game, that they were actually going to be safe, because barring any disaster at West Brom, Hull City were going to be able to stay ahead of Luton Town. And as long as they did, it was going to take too much, I think, at that 18 minutes point for them to really lose it. Even in the second half, I think, as Portsmouth got that goal and equalised, I don't think Hull City would have been that too much worried about it, because Hull City finish in 21st position on 49 points, equal with Luton Town, who, of course, lost. And you're thinking, well, as long as they manage to keep that draw, they're okay. So it's a little bit of a tight situation on the pitch. They obviously wouldn't have known exactly how tight that was. The number of fans weren't that great down there either, I don't think, from what I heard. May be wrong, but the atmosphere from the fans didn't quite get onto the Portsmouth pitch quite as much to say, we actually need to keep this draw, because if they'd have lost, they'd have been on 48 points and Luton would have stayed up. But I just think that somehow that thought of, there's 5 goals about to go in at West Brom, somehow got onto that pitch. I don't know how. It wasn't via the fans that I knew of, but perhaps somebody did shout it from the side. So that was a sort of, it became a sort of non-game for me, and it was rather, it was almost like the before the game antics between the fans. It was almost like a little bit of a light-hearted end of season kick around. Although, the stats do suggest that they were actually, Portsmouth were slightly on top here as far as passing was concerned, but Hull City were more technical when they had the ball. But 11 shots each, that just tells me everything about this game. It was a little bit of a knockaround, and that's what it's sent to be for me. I don't know what you think. Please like, subscribe, give me a comment down below. Portsmouth is my local side. Sheffield United versus Blackburn next, and Sheffield United were wanting to just show that they could actually do something here. They're not as bad going into the playoffs as what they actually have been, and trying to show that they could win at home. But when Blackburn scored on 50 minutes, that was when they actually went ahead of Bristol City. Get the right one, please. And Bristol City suddenly dropped out. That's when Bristol City fans, I think, really start to say, "Hey, you need to You need to get into this game. They were 1-0 down, and straight away they went 2-0 down. And Blackburn were well above them. And you're thinking, Bristol are going to have to come back from a 2-0 down to be able to get above Blackburn. But on 59 minutes, Sheffield United equalised. So quickly, it became a draw. Sheffield United 1, Blackburn 1, and Bristol Rovers could sort of ease, or the fans could certainly ease off. Thankfully, I don't think the players realised that, the roars from the side had started to sort of merge in at that point, and the atmosphere was brilliant up there, wasn't it? But certainly at Blackburn, for a minute. Well, 9 minutes actually. They were. We're in the playoff zone. We're in the playoff zone. We can do this against a poor Sheffield United side. The stats: 59% possession to Sheffield United. They were the best side, absolutely. 18 shots, 5 on target. For if they want to be in that top 6, they should be doing better than 5 out of 18. 4 off target, but I will say this, 9 of them were blocked. So there were 9 blocking. Blackburn were blocking shots, absolute like hell for leather. And 41% possession to Blackburn, 7 shots, 2 on target, 1 in the net. You can see what they did. We went ahead and they've literally tried to pull back and make sure that Sheffield United don't get a clear shot on target. 9 blockages out of 18. Ouch. That is some blockage number, isn't it? Did it work? Well, no, it didn't quite work. Straight away Sheffield United came back and that blockage tactic it was the wrong tactic to take. They needed to be attacking more. Didn't do it for me, and they needed to change how they were playing after they Sheffield equalised. Didn't do it, and that to me shows a lack of organisation and a lack of management. It just, for me, the tactics should have changed, because you've just been in the top 6, you've just been knocked out of it. This game can't end 1-1 and be of any use to you. You have to do something about it, and they didn't. So Sheffield United finished in third on 90 points. Blackburn finished in 7th on 66. See, as a draw, 66 was never going to hit it, because Bristol City with a draw were on 68 points. With a defeat, they were still on. They were still 2-1 down, for instance. They were still on 67, 1 point ahead of them. Blackburn had to score another goal. We did cover this also in the live stream, and we were watching it, and it just didn't seem like Blackburn were ever going to get that goal that would take them 2-1 ahead and back into the 6th slot. So that's how it finished there. Sheffield United 1, Blackburn 1. Sunderland 0, QPR 1 next, and of course we go. Let's go straight to the table as it finished. Sunderland 4th with 76 points. They were always going to be 4th, whether they won, drew, or lost this game. Didn't really matter. And QPR in 15th, 56 points at the end of the day. Even with 53, if they'd have lost it, really didn't make any difference at all. And that's the sort of sense that the pundits were saying as they were commentating on this game. Didn't quite go into this game because it really was a non-game for the live stream. But if we look at the stats, Sunderland 58% possession, 11 shots, 5 on target. QPR 42% possession, 5 shots, 1 on target, 1 blocked. Sunderland got 5 blocked as well. So Sunderland had 5 on target, 5 blocked, 1 off target. So they were actually really good clinically with their shooting. To get no goals, they've been absolutely gutted. Should have been a Sunderland win. It was a QPR win, and QPR have a really good defensive strategy. I've noticed this all season. I've said it on some of my reviews and on some of the prediction videos. QPR can play really, really defensively brilliantly, and I think that for that reason, QPR probably deserved this win overall over the season. If you take them over the season, that defence has been so good that when they went ahead, I think that realistically that team, yeah, probably did deserve the 1-0 win. 5 minutes in, it was a long time to be defending. And you can see by the fact that they only had one shot on target that and one blocked, that they didn't really get to shoot very often. But the defence was absolutely brilliant. Like I say, it doesn't make any difference to the position. 4th for Sunderland, 15th for QPR. A bit of a dull game in one sense, but it wasn't in the other, because Sunderland were actually playing well and they were shooting. They just couldn't get it past that damn QPR blockade. So in another sense, it was actually quite exciting to see if they could get past it. They just couldn't. Swansea City next, and this Swansea City Oxford game was one of those games where you looked at it and you thought, Swansea City ended up in 11th on 61 points. Oxford were safe they finished in 17th on 53 points. They were never going to be in trouble. Oxford didn't mind. It didn't matter if they lost this one. Similarly by Swansea, but Swansea have been playing bloody well, haven't they? If they'd have played this well a month or two earlier, I think that this Swansea side could have made it into contention. But they just didn't change everything early enough for me. So Swansea finished in 11th place on 61 points, and you can see by that, Bristol City finished just 7 points ahead of them in the playoff zone. And Swansea's stats up to that this game were really impressive. They've been playing absolutely out of their skins, and I think that they came into this game thinking, something, let's show the fans that we're not going to just stop and not play football. They went ahead on 23 minutes through Ji-sung, and who was the next one? Ronald scored second, so they got 2-0 up. No, Lee scored second for Oxford, and it was 1-1. Then it was Ronald for Swansea, 57 minutes, 2-1. Finished 3-3. This was a humdinger of a game. It really was exciting to watch. It was a good game. But it was good because they were both being really clinical in front of goal, and the moves were really, really good. I enjoyed watching the build up and the final moves. We had 60% possession to Swansea, 12 shots, 5 on target, 3 in the net, and 2 blocked. We had 40% possession to Oxford, 10 on target, 10 shots, 7 on target, 2 off target, 1 blocked. Both of these teams should be absolutely proud of what they did. I don't think either of the defences can be blamed for these. I don't really, the game was so frantic and so brilliant that I really wouldn't be either a Swansea fan or an Oxford fan and think, but we shouldn't have let 3 in. I think that this game was just one of those games where really it didn't matter what the score was, but the game was so invigorating. It was really good to watch and exciting. That the finishing was really good. The actual technical ability and the passing, I thought, was really, really good, as can be seen from the Swansea City's number of passes, 498. And Oxford weren't so far behind on 329. You can see that that actually they were all very, very capable of doing some really good technical passing and just getting the timing just right. Enjoyed it. Absolutely brilliant game from both sides. I think Swansea will be really raring to go for next season, won't they? They certainly are the side to watch, I think, in the last 6 months, in the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. This Swansea side, has been the one that people have been watching improve, not just a little bit, a lot, since the changes. Wow, what are they going to do next year? They must be one of the top 6 favourites, looking at how they finished, surely. Please do give me your comments and like and subscribe. So let's go to a non-game again. Watford at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Watford won, Sheffield Wednesday won. Watford finished in 14th on 57 points. Sheffield Wednesday in 12th on 58 points. Sheffield Wednesday really were... they picked up a little bit recently, but the last couple of months have been absolutely awful. Sheffield Wednesday looked like they were going to get into the playoffs, didn't they, at one point? And I thought, Sheffield United were starting to do poorly at that point, and I was thinking, they're going to be, they could finish above Sheffield United here. And I had actually said in my pre-season ramble that don't put it against Wednesday to finish above their Blades rivals. It became a bit of a non-game. 1-1 it finished. Scoring was Sheffield Wednesday first through Windass, Watford second through on 55 plus 1 minute. So both goals in the first half from Sissoko, that one, and I think at that point it became just a bit of a kick around. 51% possession to Watford. We know that they can do a lot better than that at home. 49% to Sheffield Wednesday. What did Watford do on the pitch? 18 shots, 5 on target, 6 off target. Sheffield Wednesday 7 shots, 2 on target, 3 off target, so 2 blocked there. That's 6 blocked for Watford. So Wednesday were really a lot more defensive here. I just think that they've got this mindset of we've not been playing very well. Let's just concentrate on the defence. But Watford just didn't seem to be up for really trying hard enough to win it. Although 18 shots, they would have hoped that they would have got perhaps 2 goals out of that, possibly even 3. Especially at home, they would usually have got 3 goals from those 18 shots. However, it finished Watford 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1 in a game for me that just ended in a second half of just let's have a bit of a kick around. Another non-game for the end of the season. If any fan was upset there at drawing, would have been the Watford fans, and it would have been nice, wouldn't it? Your last home game of the season, it's always nice to win that last home game, isn't it? Send the fans home happy. I don't think Watford fans would be too unhappy at this. The equaliser just gave them a bit of a burst of happiness at half time, and then just seemed to die out. But I think on the whole, they will be relatively happy that they're going into the summer period and seeing what they can do for next year. Both teams, in fact. So let's look at that fated game that made all the difference, shall we? Tom Fellows, West Brom scored on 7 minutes. Quickly followed by Ali for Luton on 9. And at that point, we thought, West Brom scored, and all of a sudden the fans of all the other relegation candidates, they started to cheer because West Brom, once they get ahead, they can quite often at home at least stay ahead, at worst draw, and this meant that a lot of them would be safe as houses. But then when Luton Town scored 2 minutes later, it was like, oh great, they're back to a draw. Perhaps they are going to make a fight of it. But then 30 minutes, Dyke scored for West Brom, 2-0. 33 minutes, 3-0 from Fellows. And then it was soon 61-57 for Styles. So it's quickly 5-1. And then all of a sudden you get Clark 5-2 and Ali again 5-3, and you're thinking 88 minutes. Can they really? They can't really do this, can they? And Luton started to attack in those last 10. Well, yeah, if you count the extra minutes, we were about 6, I think. Those last 7 or 8 minutes, they were certainly trying to push that down the wing and trying to cross it in. It's just that final ball just wasn't very good, and Luton Town actually did look like they could get a fourth, but it wasn't to be. It was West Brom 5, Luton 3, and all the way from, I think as soon as they scored that fifth goal, 61 minutes, all the other teams that were in trouble of being relegated were suddenly breathing a sigh of relief, thinking there's no way on earth they're going to get 4 or 5 goals back now. Surely, they would have to be scoring one every 9 or 10 minutes. It's not going to work. And it really, you felt the pressure just released on all those other clubs. And I think that's why you felt the pressure release at Portsmouth. And all of a sudden, it was just a kick around. Because on that 61st minute, people were just like, the news went around really well. And it was suddenly, we're safe. We can just kick around now, because that's not going to change too much from 5-1. Little did they know, they probably weren't told that it became 5-2, 5-3, and they're like, oh shit, we better keep it up. It was a close call at the end. Luton Town really did fight back, but they. That defence again, it's just been a little bit rocky. The problem is, they've done really well, and they've won some really good games that perhaps they shouldn't have won. But when they've lost, a lot of the time they've come back, but several times they've just almost like imploded and not just let 1 or 2 in, but let 3, 4, 5 in. When they could have just shut up shop and done a bit of a job of keeping down the goal difference, because that's what's killed them at the end of the day. This a huge number of the goal difference. If you look at the table, then will show you that Luton Town get relegated in 22nd place on minus 24. Plymouth Argyle is probably the closest on Cardiff minus 25 at the bottom, Plymouth minus 37. Those bottom 3 have really been quite poor on the defensive side, of course, until Cardiff's last game, of course, which I thought actually they couldn't really help but let those goals in. They had a damn good game, really, but again, lots of goals and lots of goals in the net. So those bottom 3, that's what's really hurt them a lot. It's the number of goals that's actually gone in, whether they could stop them or not. So it finished with Luton Town, like I say, in 22nd place, going down to League One. A quick 2 successive relegations, Premier League to Championship, Championship to League One. It's going to be interesting, this, because they've got parachute payments for next season. However, do have to be very careful, fans. Don't think that they're just going to pump millions of pounds into new players. You have got financial fair play if and when you go straight back up. So they do have to then, it's still going to be a 3-year rolling, so you would still look back for the 3 years. So do be careful. Plus, if they were going to do that, then surely you would have spent all that, some of that money on players to keep up, rather than the stadium improvements. It's going to be interesting to see if they do, now that they've got the stadium improvements in place, I do believe. Are they going to then carry on pushing that extra cash for this year into players to try and do a Birmingham? It's going to be an interesting one to watch. I do admit, I do hope as a League One fan that we don't see another Birmingham coming down and pumping 100 million into players. I think it's about 40 million, isn't it, what they got for a parachute? But even then, that's probably 39 million more than all of the other clubs. So I do watch with a little bit of intrepidation as a League One fan. I think Luton Town will be the one to watch. What will they do with the parachute payment? Will they pump it straight into players and hope that they do a Birmingham? I fear that they will do. I'm hoping that they don't, and that they play this a bit more fairly. But at the end of the day, it's all about money, and if that gets them back into the Championship, that's what they'll jolly well do. Plymouth Argyle, I think that they've got a good set of players there, and I think they'll keep them, and I think that they'll be certainly pushing in that top section to go back up. Cardiff City finished with a flurry there, and I think they showed exactly what they could do. Yeah, all three of them have to sort out that defence, certainly. For me, Luton Town are the only ones that really have the cash to be able to put into this to sort that defence out. Once they've sorted the defence out, they'll be okay. I think that Luton Town very well may come straight back up, possibly as champions. I think that Plymouth Argyle and Cardiff will be floating around that top 10 for most of the season. Where, I don't know yet. I'm going to have a quick calculation and a quick look at it, see how League One finished, and we'll wait and see what the initial team transfers look like, and I will be back to you with another video. It's John S. Sports Channel over for the Championship for one last review. See you again in the next video. Like and subscribe.